everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'm so excited for what we're doing this week. We're kind of changing it up and doing something a little bit different. We are taking on this classic still life. Now, it's a big project, but we're going to do it in a new way. We're going to break it down into segments, and I'm going to show you how that this is a two-hoot painting, even though it might take a while, and how we're going to break this down into really digestible bits so that you can, over time, create something really spectacular, really amazing, and have it be much easier than you think. We're going to even work on realism, so even if you're a beginner painter and you think, well, realism isn't for me because that's the most challenging of all art things, I'm going to show you how that's actually not the most challenging of all art skills. It's just an art skill where you got to kind of slow down and get still within yourself, still within your still life. And we're going to take this on in bites. Today, the first day, we're going to take on the wine glass. I'm going to show you guys how to paint a more realistic wine glass with a beautiful illuminated wine and this background and how to block in the still life. And then we're going to come back tomorrow working on these flowers whose name I still can't say. That's going to be an interesting journey this week, these fabulous flowers. And then we're going to do the grapes. I'm going to show you how to do the lemon. And then we're going to finish out on how to do this ornate metal and all of this part of the still life right here, the finishing parts. And so we'll be done about Saturday.
Okay.
So we're just going to meet up every day live, work for a little bit. You guys are going to work with me on the 16 by 20 canvas, and you're going to be so shocked at what you can do. How are you doing today, John?
Pretty good. People are really excited about this. They were surprised. They were like, two hoot? Oh, this is on a scale of 1 to 3. This is only a 2.
Yeah, if you guys had gone for the classic Dutch style still life that I threw in there, that would have been a full 3 hoot because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, a lot of them.
But this is really quite a very, it's going to, you know, for the purposes of a YouTube lesson, I wouldn't want to try to do this in 2 hours. But for the purposes of being able to show you guys over segments, like say we had a class, like a real life class, how I would teach something like this is you guys would show up with me regularly and we'd work for a little bit and we'd get through a segment and then you guys would go home and resolve it more at home and then we'd come back and work for a little bit. And so we're going to duplicate that here, but, you know, free.
Yeah.
So that would be completely different.
So how you doing? You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Today's color list is not the complete color list. And actually, apparently I made an error in this one. It's correct on the Facebook page, and it's going to be correct on the website, but we need some yellow to lighten our leaves and also to lighten our red wine today. So.
Gotcha.
Typing, writing.
So, yeah, so a lot of folks just thought this was going to be a lot harder than what you're saying it is.
It's not. This is really doable. In fact, I'm even going to kind of challenge some of you. If you have been on the fence about drawing, of course there's going to be traceable. But if you've been on the fence about drawing, this is a good time to take it on. Because still lifes are very unique subject matters. Because they're still. And what makes them wonderful for artists is that they're very controllable. If this goes well, we might even show you someday how to set up your own still life.
Oh, yeah.
But what's wonderful about this is very controllable. The lighting is controlled, the subject matter is controlled, and the objects themselves tend to be simplistic in shape. They're not really complicated. And so it allows you to take on some things in a very safe space. Be like, this is my safe space, still life. Every time you look at this on your wall, you're going to think, this is my safe, still space, and I feel better now. And I feel like we needed that after the kind of craziness around the world we've been having and all the people going, we need some safe, still space, don't we?
Yeah.
And remember, we're going to work through this with purpose, but not in a rushed way. We're going to have purpose. We're not going to meander, but we are going to definitely be seated in it. So, are we ready to go?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
I'm kind of ready to get into it.
You're going to go over the materials here?
Yeah, I am. So today, I've got a 16 by 20. This is a stretch canvas. Just as an interesting fact, my particular canvas this morning was super wrinkled, and how I fixed that was I sprayed the back with water and it retightened my drum. You might not know to do that on economy stretch canvases, is to mist the back with some water and let it retighten, because sometimes they come a bit loose. I'm going to show you how to section this into 4 sections and sketch it in. Let's come over to the paint. So I've got some titanium white, some Mars black, phthalo green, phthalo blue. I'm going to lighten my reds with some cad yellow. I've got naphthol red medium, burnt umber, and burnt sienna, and Alizarine Crimson. And a bunch of brushes. Because, you know, I like to be crazy like that.
Yeah.
And the first name I put out is my burnt umber.
While you're putting that out there, I'm going to say happy birthday because we got happy brush. We got some new. We got is it Ryan and Brian?
Happy birthday, guys!
Yeah, little brushes are 5 today.
5 is such a awesome age.
Yeah.
I have a 5-year-old, and what a blessing it is to be 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. So something else I want you guys to think about. You may not have all the paint colors.
Mm-hmm.
You know you can get just as much out of this painting by doing it black and white.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just do it black and white. Study this black and white. In fact, I made a point, just like I've been doing lately, of printing out this picture in black and white so I can see the value easily.
Now, here's a question. If you didn't have all the colors and you wanted to work with you, could you do an umber study and then later color it?
You could. You do black and white. You can do an umber study. The thing is just to get a sense of how this is put together.
That's neat. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about
Still
all
lifes
that.
are like that. If you go into a still life class, you're going to see somebody doing that still life in black and white. They might not have all the stuff that week. They may just not want to get involved into something that complicated. Print out the picture in black and white and just paint along with us in black and white. You're still going to think it's an amazing painting.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun thing. So I'm going to get out, this is a number 8 cat's tongue. You could get out of bright, you can get out of filbert, you can get out of round. I'm just going to be sketching in the painting. Let me get this wet and get a little burnt umber on my brush so I can sort of loosely sketch in. Now I've divided the canvas vertically in half and horizontally in half. And I've taken my reference photo that I has, and I have done the same thing so that I can get a sense of the proportions that I'm dealing with on my screen over here when I'm putting this in. So the first section, right, when we're breaking down a big piece, this is not that big for still life. I would normally do a still life like this twice as big. I would do like a 3648 or something. But this is a nice beginning size on a still life. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go, where is my wine glass? Where is its basic positioning and shape? And I notice that it's over here in this left quadrant, pretty close to my center line, and about 3 fingers from the top. And I've done a light little sketch to do this work in ahead of time so I can talk to you and not be distracted. But this is what we're doing. I want you to notice I'm not going to be really technical with this blocking in. I'm going to loosely talk about where I think this object is initially. Right? There's going to be a lot of adjustments that I'll be making throughout the painting. So I don't want to get too rigid into this. I'm just trying to look for, there's an object here. Now my leaves were actually photoshopped into the still life, I believe. So they're kind of an interesting muted background thing. I'm going to correct a lot for that. All right, because only our forward vines were real. I'm going to kind of block in where I think my flowers are going to go. I'm not going to try to paint the most accurate flower shape that I've ever seen. I'm going to try to say, all right, I don't really have to paint the wine glass too much past here. And I've got some flowers here coming down. And then there's a second flower here, and it has a petal coming out. I know I've got some grapes right here. You know, and try to just look, what grapes are you noticing? What grapes are important? Right? And I'm going to look at my picture, and I'm going to say, all right, this grape matters, and maybe this grape matters. I'll probably be moving a lot of this. A lot of this is dark, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm only like, oh, there's a little grape shape there.
Kristen asked a really interesting question. So she said, what is the difference between a cat's tongue and a filbert? Because she thought filbert meant cat's tongue.
Well, this is so interesting. And if I may say, these are the first cat's tongues on the acrylic market for us regular acrylic artists. So there is, filbert does mean cat's tongue. But in that, in watercolor and oil painting, there was a more refined pointed cat's tongue that came out, and this brush has 5 painting sides. So it creates a detail, it creates really fine lines and edges, and it comes to a more significant point. It's fantastic for landscapes and portraiture and all kinds of things, and I've always been a little envious that oil artists and watercolor artists got them and I didn't, and so now we all do.
So
free the brush to the people, because you can see it makes like these just really fine like pointed lines, but then I can get it on the edge here, and it still does the soft filbert blending.
Gotcha. And
Got that all over my palette now. All right, I'm still sketching it. So I've got a little bit of a fabric that comes down here that I don't really have to worry about that much. And then there's sort of the lemon is over here in the lower right quadrant. And I'm just like, what is the basic space that lemon takes up? Is right about here. I got to think about my plate. And my lips is going to come across the two lower things. It comes from this lower, below, if this is the halfway point of my lemon, and I'm looking, I'm like, it's just a smidge below that, and it comes around, swooping around, over. See, we've already kind of got a still life in there.
Yeah.
Still lifes come in real fast. That's why artists like doing them. It's like, all right, because you're not trying, don't try to draw every little wiggle of the flower. Just try to say, these objects take up this space. Compositionally, this is what I'm dealing with. Then you know you've got kind of a little knife positioning that comes out there, and where does it end? It comes here and up, and we're going to be talking about these much more specifically. I just need to say to myself, this is about the positioning of these objects. They don't need to solve everything on the planet. And then I've got some fabric that peaks up here but doesn't cross up and folds down into this direction. So today I'm going to be working some dark values down here, all of this up here, the glass, some vines.
You're gonna be all over the place.
Yeah, I'm blocking in the background in my underpainting. So see how loosely if you walked into just a still life class and threw your easel up, you would be kind of expected to know to do this.
Some of the basics, like being
Some
able
of
to
this
block
basic
it
stuff.
in.
You'd be sort of expected to know, but this is really all you're supposed to do. You're supposed to come in, look at the shape and form, and sketch that in loosely.
And let's frame that. Not all beginner classes are the same. You know, like
No.
one in your local library might be much, much more beginner than one, say, at the local art school.
It
So,
really depends on your instructor, because you could get my mother at your local library.
it's true. And she
And
would,
some people have. Let me tell you, my mom does not let any dust get on those rolling stones. No, no, no. I'm going to put out a little blue over for the corner over here. I'm seeing a little weird blue. Don't know why it's there, but it's there. So we're going to put that in. I'm going to put out... I don't probably need to put out my green yet because there's a lot... Well, I might. I might block in some of the fabric. I'm going to block it in, guys. But basically, we're going to just get in these values and work out the glass.
Gotcha.
Work it out. Work it out.
So Trent started an interesting conversation in here.
He did?
He was like, "Well, it seems unfair that the cats get all the brushes. How come there's no dog tongue brush?"
I mean,
and then Stefan was like, "Yes, I'll take a number 50 dog tongue shader," which is
sure. Why not?
So I don't know. It's just humorous when you see what how the community thinks that some of this stuff.
So I'm going to grab a wide synthetic brush. This is my number 30 bright, but just any wide brush that you can work with easily. Really,
that could be a dog's tongue. That could be a dog's tongue brush there.
Let me get this wet and drag it off. The thing about synthetic bristles, goof, is that they don't hold too much water.
It's like a golden retriever's tongue. Just
yeah. Now I'm going to darken my paint a bit with my blue. And I'm going to come in here and just start working the edges.
This is a bigger canvas than we normally do.
Well, I mean, we started out on the channel doing 16 by 20s because that's just what people were used to. And then we realized we could get more complicated paintings done if we reduce the size.
Yeah, so we teach more
of the art,
complex things so you didn't have to cover as much canvas.
So see, I'm getting color on the canvas. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting a value and a color on the canvas. Just coming here, just working that out.
Oh. And as you're putting colors on the palette there, can you go through those again?
Oh, did I forget to do that?
I'm not sure. Let's go through those real quick.
Burnt umber, burnt sienna, phthalo blue, phthalo green,
Okay.
Cad yellow light. No, cad yellow medium. Ugh. Naphthol red medium, titanium white.
So one more time there. You got burnt umber in the bottom. You got
Burnt umber, burnt sienna, phthalo blue, phthalo green, cad yellow medium, naphthol red, and titanium white. And of
Okay.
course, all of these are in the description below, are on our website for the pages where these are going to be all linked together and of course in group.
Okay.
So we're definitely not trying to be mysterious. Mystery is not our goal.
No.
We're not the mystery channel, hopefully. I really hope we're not the mystery channel.
Not intentionally, at least.
Oh, let me know if we're being mysterious, because that is not a good thing to be right now. So I'm just going to put this down through here. And I'm just trying to, this is just laying in some paint. Other paint is coming. I don't have to be super precious around my little object block-in. I'm like just remembering that these things are here. This is what I mean with purpose. I painted over our wish today.
Get a wish. You painted it into the canvas.
I did have a wish. I painted, we had the wish that everyone be safe, happy, and together.
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of storms. We put some happy wish storm
Just painted right over them. Universe, take these wishes!
Well, that's what we got to do. So, we like to put wishes on our canvas so that, we can put those out into the universe with our artwork. And, I think that's good intention that we get to do.
I'm grateful, deeply grateful that that's something that we can do. I'm going to take my phthalo green, my phthalo blue, and my burnt, and I'll come down here, and most of this front area I'm going to do in this color. I'm just covering it in. Big brush helps a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things to not do when you're working on canvases, one of the things that really gets new artists is they work too small a brush. So work the size brush that gets the job done. If you're working a small detailed area, get a smaller brush. If you're working a big area, get a bigger brush. Think about the size of your brush in relationship to the task you have ahead of you.
Now, I can imagine, because I'm not a painter,
Right.
but I have had to pick up a brush on occasion, and I know that I'm afraid to pick up bigger brushes because I don't want to waste all that paint by loading it up on that brush.
Yeah, but see, it's all coming out, isn't it? A good brush will put all the paint on the canvas. And even though this is big, I can still paint around my knife here.
Yeah.
So just know that, there's a purpose to the bigger brush.
Okay.
It has purpose, y'all.
You certainly can cover that canvas a lot faster.
I can. Again, we're going to paint through this in segments. Here's this darker green I've mixed. I've mixed my phthalo blue, my phthalo green. I've come and got my burnt, umber into it. It makes this dark value, and I'm making this darker value that I have here.
And this is how you're making those chromatic shadows, huh?
Right. We probably won't use a lot of black. We have it here if we want to shade.
So
We will tone and shade, which means shade is to add black to darken, and tone is to add white to lighten. We will tone and shade our paint. But probably we'll use a lot of chromatic blacks, which is that we don't have any actual black in the color. We mix in approximation of black.
we have a big. I've got a really big.
I'm noticing
picture
that.
today. Well, I think it was because we were. We had it at a reference there from last time. I can shrink it down here. I'll make it a little smaller, so it's not. Actually, it's. I think it's okay for not.
Are
when
we
you're,
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just when you go to talk, it blocks you out a lot. But at other times.
I just lost my mic.
Oh, I'll fix it.
So this gives you a minute to catch up. So what you're going to notice is that I've been brushing in my darker colors around the edge. This upper area is the brown and blue. Yeah, but it's near me, right? It's good enough? Okay. So here's what we've got up here. We've got the brown and blue, which we've just toned, that burnt umber with that phthalo blue, and we brushed in this outer area, and then where we know we have this sort of green velvet, we put in sort of a green value underneath here. Now I'm going to come back. I'm definitely going to blue some of this up and purple some of this up, but we're just blocking in. We're just putting in our first layer of paint. So breathe and be relaxed about it, if that's easy.
Yeah.
So again, I'm mixing my phthalo blue and my phthalo green and some of my burnt umber to create this deep velvet value. I don't necessarily buy a tube of paint for every color in my canvas. Like, I mean, there's a tube of paint I could buy that's this green.
Yeah.
Or that brown. I mean, some paint companies make a lot of colors, right? It's not my way to necessarily buy every single color in a color line, but I want to say that there's nothing wrong with it. One of my very favorite artists, an artist I actually actively collect, does paint entirely from the tube. So
Yeah.
don't feel like that's wrong. Sometimes artists will make you feel like it's wrong.
going
It's
there?
not wrong. The only thing that's wrong is not giving yourself time to be creative today. Aww. But seriously, that's
Yeah,
the only
it's
thing
like-
that's truly wrong.
Yeah, definitely just paint. Just create. Just do something there.
Yeah. So I've got that kind of in now. I'm going to sort of rinse out my brush. I don't need to have it completely pristine. And I'll pull, if I really dip my water or brush in like a deep jar of water, it's always a good idea to towel it out because sometimes water gets all the way up the handle and then drippies, which is super annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take my burnt sienna and I'm just going to let it get into this color I'd been working down here. So I have my burnt sienna and this is all of that color I'd been mixing, right? So I'm taking advantage of this spot to go ahead and let some of this tone it back because I don't want pure burnt sienna. That's real bright. And I'm going to go ahead and just start brushing that in. So see how we're creating this center of light here? There's a couple little patches of light. This is a very dark piece.
Yes, it is.
Like, you guys, it's so... No tear tape is tearing. See how dark that is? So it's dark, 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 light, light. That's what makes it dramatic. Is all the crushed dark values with these pops of light.
The drama.
The drama. Let me tell you, nothing is as disappointing as a still life with no drama. Oh my gosh.
It's just so still.
It's so still. It's too still. It's too still. Still lifes should be significant in some way. They should speak to some aspect of your life. I'm going to use the edge of my brush here. And can you see it's streaky. See how I'm just brushing in and I'm just working the values in more than worrying about the brush strokes. There's nothing particularly wildly important about my brush stroke except that they're big and expressive, right? And I'm not going like this. Guess what though?
Oh.
You could go like this if you felt like it. What would happen is if you did the whole painting like this, it would be very tight. It would actually, the energy in your brush stroke does convey through your painting. So if you do tight, small, precious brush strokes, then you're going to have a tight, small, precious painting, which can be powerful. The only time it's wrong is if it's not what you intended.
Yeah.
If you're not getting the result you want. So I'm really managing to push the paint into my canvas here. That is a lot my brush. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm able to forcibly cover. This is an economy canvas. You know, the ones we all buy that don't want to take paint. And I'm getting away with this because my brush is making a deal.
Is it?
Yeah. I just don't want to not be forthright with you and you be at home going, man, I'm painting this and it's just white dots underneath. That is a lot of what it is. There's some coatings on these sometimes that resist paint. So I'll take this down even a little bit further than I painted my green. Because what I don't want is unpainted canvas. So it's okay to take your color a little bit past where you blocked it. Just to make sure that you have depth where you need it. Coming around here. And actually, I need a darker value here. So I'm going to come back into my phthalo green, my phthalo blue, and my burnt. And make sure this side of my cup is in this deep, deep value. See, I'm darkening that. The second coat deepens it even more. Second coat. Ogres and layers and paintings and acrylics all layered up. See, I'm just working that loosely in, and already So now we've managed to paint a whole 60 by 20, fairly short order. We have our underpainting in. It's time to stretch our necks if we need to and stand back and evaluate. I can't really stand back and evaluate, but what you should do at this stage is stand back across the room and contemplate your painting. If for some reason you're chair-bound, bed-bound, home-bound, take a picture on your cell phone, reduce the size.
Gotcha. Oh, that makes sense.
Right? But the overall goal is whether you walk across the room or you reduce the size is you're taking in the composition. This is a good time to say, am I okay with where I placed everything? Because you can change your mind right now really easily.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Once we've put in this cup is there.
Yes.
Right? So this is just a good minute to take a second and go,
So,
sipping my drink, say hi to everybody who came to paint with me today.
Gosh. We've been, they have been, I didn't hook up the bubble machine, but we have totally been Sherpa here. Everyone's been really just been having a great time.
This is such a, Ian Jackson actually challenged me this. He's like, can we do a bigger, more complicated piece? I'm like, yeah, Ian. I'm like, but everyone has to be there for 6 hours. And he's like, you don't have to do it in one shot.
That's true.
He's like, could you break it up over days? And I'm like, I don't know. Would it be interesting to anybody if I broke up a complicated painting over days?
Yeah.
So you guys are showing me if it's interesting or not.
Yeah. Now, there's a question here from Julie. Could she substitute Viridian for phthalo green in this piece? I don't know what Viridian is.
Yes. It's going to change the color of your painting. So when you guys ask me about substitution, can I change this yellow for this yellow? Yeah, you can. But that yellow could be cooler. That yellow could be warmer. I think Viridian is actually more yellow than phthalo green blue shade. Right? So you just have to correct for that. You can change out colors all you want. It just will impact the color mix you get. As long as you're very subtle with my green's going to be a little brighter and warmer. And I know how to correct for that in the painting, you're golden.
Yeah.
Right? You can be like, I really don't feel like getting Naples yellow. And you can, tone out or mix a close approximation of Naples yellow. You just may not get the exact color. I try not to ask you guys to get colors that I don't think are useful in the piece. Oh, am I dancing now?
Yeah, just give you a little music.
I don't know. It's like John's like, stop talking, dance now.
No.
I'm a sippy.
Oh,
and I'm dance.
you were answering a question, and everyone was just celebrating.
I feel like a monologue like a villain, except I'm not a villain. I'm an art teacher, and then 11 people come by. I'm like, you're too much talking. I'm like, I haven't figured out how to mind meld my learning yet.
See, I love that we get to have people come in here and we add music and we dance and we celebrate that everybody's here. But someday, I want to have a live band in here with a Sherpa so that they can be playing along with her as she does her stuff.
A live band.
I just think that'd be about the great. Well, But thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it.
Is that my bubble popping
There's your
song?
bubble song. Yeah. This is another community song. Both these last songs were from community members.
It's awesome. Say who?
Yeah, same guy, Mike.
Yes, say guy, Mike. Mike did them. Mike did it.
Thank you.
Whatever you think of it, Mike did it.
Yeah, we like it.
I'm gonna put out my Alizarine.
He gave us our own dance tracks. So.
And I'm gonna put out a little more burnt umber.
Mm-hmm.
Because reasons. I don't think I'm gonna put on any glaze yet.
No glaze?
I won't need that until the glass. I'm gonna work out this background.
Okay.
And I'm gonna work this background out with scruffly brushes.
Scruffly brushes.
Scruffly brushes. So scruffly brushes, I like to use our bristle brushes, right? So big bristle brushes, right? Small bristle brushes. And the point of these is that they're going to give me a nice scumble. You could use these. These I recommend that you wet and then take the extra water out of them to get them to the correct scruffliness.
I see.
Any of these scruffly brushes will work. Any scruffle.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a little of my red over to my yellow and make a pretty decent orange here. And then I'm going to get a little of that into my burnt sienna. See how I've done?
Mm-hmm.
So a little of my naphtha red over to my cad yellow to warm it up, and then I'm working that into my burnt. I'm going to come here and I'm going to scruffle up some of these slightly warmer. See, I'm scruffling. I'm going back and forth, scruffle, scruffle, scruffle. Scumble, scumble, scumble. I'm still on the edge of this brush though, right? I'm not pressing it in. If I press it in, it's going to just deposit too much paint. And I'm going to make a little interesting spots of light. But much like clouds, some of the same skills you might think of for clouds you're going to use here. You can use your picture to help guide you to make exact decisions, right? But what you're wanting to make is random, unpredictable organic shapes. Organic shapes are not predictable, so still warming this up. And when I say warming it up, it means I'm taking the paint more to the yellows and reds than the blues and greens and purples, right? And paint within relationship to each other can be warm and cool. In other words, it's more yellow or it's more blue, it's more red or it's more purple.
Yeah.
Right? But these are arbitrary expressions of what we're seeing and how the color is affecting us. So see how I'm creating these sort of like values. We're going to be doing this. It's going to make the most gorgeous background for still life. Little of my naphthol red, little of my cad yellow, a little of my burnt. And I'm scumbling along like a cowpoke.
Do cowpoke scumble?
They do.
Okay. Well, next time I see one, I'll ask them.
They're scumblers. No cowboys come get mad at me. I just said that thing because, you know, it sounded interesting. But if I misrepresent you, I'm so sorry. So see, I'm just sort of doing this here. The focus of my light is I'm going to put right here. Right? When doing a still life, and when we show you how to set one up, this person photoshopped a still life together. I would never do that.
Okay.
Because the whole wonderful, awesome sauce of still life is I have control over the light. Where the light reflects and what the light shines on. And therefore, I can be so specific and awesome in my storytelling. I would not, this has gone a little more red, but I like it. And see how I'm just going back, forth, back.
Yeah.
Right? This is, I just do it real fast. And then I wander around. That's how I get that. Scumbly, scumbly, scumbly. Believe it or not, I think I'm going to even use my clouds on the grapes a little bit.
Cool.
When we do the grapes. It's going to be a fun week. I'm excited to do this. How does everyone feel about meeting up?
Pretty good. Everyone's really enjoying this.
So I'm just scumbling this up here. See, into the dark value. Now, during this process, I'm probably not going to, rinse out my brushes that often, right? Except when the paint starts to dry on the bristles. I think I have a nice randomized value set here, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to rinse this out and dry this off on my towel. And then I'm going to come and get, maybe this time, a little of my phthalo blue and my alizarin. It's going to make this sort of deep purple. And I'm going to add a little of that to my burnt umber. And let's come here and also scumble this. That we're scumbling this really interesting background. Now I'm going to show you guys how you can do the crazing effect that this person created. We could have done some crackle paint. They make paints that do this. And that's perfectly fine if you want to do that. I'm going to come through here and add a little more brown as I'm going. I'm just, see, back and forth lightly. Lightly, 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 lightly. Creating this very dramatic, and you can see it's just dusting pigment up over what I have, right? And then the stuff is showing through because my brush is dry. This is dry brushing, the power of dry brushing. A little more of my burnt into my purple that I got here to darken it, and up here up the side because I want this much darker value. I am pushing Pushing, pushing, pushing. I'm going to push this back a little bit. As I darken, it pushes it back. But you can see it's sort of warm and shines through. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Isn't this lovely?
It is.
Just making this old world happy, peaceful. When you hang something like this on your wall, you're taking a snapshot of a wonderful moment. That's the power of the still life, right? Is that even though this is considered I'm serious, this is an actual direct thought in the art world, the lowest rung of art. If you've been to art school, you will have heard on several occasions, especially if you train classically, that still lifes are the lowest rung of art.
They're just sort of...
So I love doing them.
They're good. We like them.
Right? Because I'm here for an underdog. But what they are is they capture an element of our life. You know, I don't have my fine china out all the time. I don't make a feast all the time.
No.
I don't celebrate life all the time. I celebrate it as often as I can, but I can't do it all the time. Making my purple again with my phthalo blue and my alizarin, and I'm coming over to my burnt umber. So the thing is that very lightly, maybe more burnt umber. If it gets too dark, just wipe it off on your brush and go more into your umber. Right? So the thing is that, you know, dusty, 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 dusty. Very light. See how light that is?
I do.
I'm putting on my wall a celebration, a happy moment, a perfect experience. And it's statically held there. It's like capturing joy in a time capsule. And this is why, while this is considered the lowest rung of art in the art world, I have to say it with that voice because I always consider it. Because when I would hear it in class, that's how I'd hear it in my head. Anyhow, the point is that it's possibly the most collected of all of the forms of art, high to low, the most collected form of art. The one that's the most meaningful in real people's lives is the still life, and always has been since its invention.
Huh.
And maybe that's why the other artists had to poo-hoo it. I don't know. But what I would say is, to me, painting a rock is the same as painting a portrait, is the same as painting a glass, is the same as painting a beach. I mean, it's just all illusion on a flat surface.
Now, we are having a bunch of gesso canvas questions. Can I hit you with a couple of them?
Yeah, as long as everyone keeps scumbling with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first question that had come in, and I've been sort of accumulating them, was I think it may have been Nicole, but in any case, she was asking that the store-bought canvases that she bought are not taking paint very well.
No.
Is there something that you can do? Does she need to gesso it first, or does she?
Okay, so what there is I believe that there's an issue. This is my belief. I can't get a confirmation from anybody on this. But what I believe is happening is that they're shipping these over from overseas. And I think that there's a mold issue. Because I keep hearing about some canvases being molded. I think some of the savvier companies have done a treatment on the canvases to prevent the mold. But that treatment probably prevents paint. So solutions that have been effective is to just get some Liquitex gesso or golden gesso and gesso over it. Another good solution is I have these misters, and I just mist the whole canvas and then brush it with water and let it dry.
Okay.
And that seems to help me on a lot of them too. And either one of those things seems to help. And since I've got to mist my canvas often anyways to get rid of wrinkling,
that helps.
It does. It does seem to help. I'm going to come back into my burnt right now, my burnt sienna. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to just warm some of this up, see?
Now,
I've just gotten the burnt sienna.
Dorothy...
On my dirty, dirty brush. My dirty brush had some burnt sienna. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Dorothy had a similar question.
Uh-huh.
She said, so if she gessos her canvas first and then dry it, her paintbrush tends to stick to the canvas and makes the painting dry a lot darker.
Okay, so the dry a lot darker is a different... If the painting is drying darker, that's color shift. That's your paint. And if your brush is dragging on the canvas, that is the grit of your gesso.
Oh, okay.
So gesso is just a surface prep. It's not necessary. It's just supposed to make your painting experience nicer than just painting on raw linen, which stuff can do. So the gesso should be prepping the surface. If you're finding that your gesso is thirsty, switch brands. Some gesso.
Or sticky.
Have you noticed that when they save you a lot of money on a product, somehow there's an issue with the pigment or the binder or thing? In gesso, the same thing is too. So like I tend to use either Liquitex Professional Gesso or Golden Professional Gesso. And there are, I won't name them, but there are gesso companies that I just won't even use their product at all.
Gotcha.
Because it kidnapped my paint into the painting.
Yeah.
And John will tell you, I don't like to be frustrated like that.
Yeah,
I'm going to get some yellow and red on my brush, make my orange again. And I'm going to come get a little of my burnt. And my brush is dirty. I haven't rinsed it. Anyone notice that I have not rinsed it? And I'm going to make sure that I have some of this.
That's one of the things you can get good quality products in all price points as long as you stick with good manufacturers.
Yeah.
And, so...
You want somebody that's going to answer a customer question if stuff gets weird. Because everybody's think it's weird. Right? Like, I love my brushes, right? But, storms in life and people happen. So I partnered with who I partnered with because they treat their consumers really well. Right? I like certain companies that I talk about on my show, like Golden and Matisse or Liquitex or Structured. There's a lot of different companies because they answer their customer questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect these are all small boutique operations. The biggest paint company in the world is still a pretty small boutique operation.
Yeah.
With a small handful of people who even know how to make any of the stuff. I'm just scumbling this along, randomizing my pattern through the center here, trying to make sure that this is interesting and a little bit lightened. The
fine art paint world is a fraction of the overall paint world when you think about like cars and house paint and I'm going to get some of my burnt umber on here and a little of my burnt sienna. I'm just still valuing this out. So even though modern practices make some things more available, these guys work really, really hard to be able to provide artisan materials. So there's mistakes that'll get made, batches that get sent out hinky. It happens. What I want is a company that if I send them a picture, they will replace my product. Stand by it. Yeah. That's just it. Refund, replace, just stand by their product. And that's why I pick the companies that I pick as my paint partners. And I call them paint partners because they are my partner. They may not be in my house. They may not be standing with me. But literally, if you think about it, everybody in the Golden Factory is with you when you buy a tube of their paint. Yeah. Right? Because they stand behind it. Right. Over there in Australia, everybody in the Matisse factories, they're with you when you buy a tube of their paint. And that's who you talk to if there's an issue. Yeah. Because they're the only ones that can fix it. All right, I'm going to work this side of the canvas now. How are we feeling about this side? Is it nice and It's very moody? Dark. It's dark, though. It's very dark. But look, how do I know if it's the correct dark? How dark is my black and white photo? Dark, yeah. Right? That's how I get my colors correct, is I use a grayscale and be like, is it dark enough? No, let me ask you something. Who gave you that necklace? They were asking about that. This is Leola Burris, and she is an artist. You can find her on Facebook, and you can get these. And she does like these. She paints on spoons and these different amulets, and then she puts them together. And there's earrings and bracelets that match. And I like her as much as Betsy Johnson. So that's what I have to say about that. Could you take a step back quarter turn towards the RoboCam, just so I can hold on, and then we will go. Poof. This is Sharky Night meets the Scream. There we go. Sharky Night meets the Scream. And I saw it and just had to have it. They wanted me to zoom in on there for prettiest thing I've ever seen. That's great. Thank you. She's just amazing. Just amazing. I'll wear her a lot. I highly recommend her as, because she paints from our show. So that's like. That's what we thought it's just fantastic. So thank you guys. Not exclusively from our show, but she does a lot of work from our show. I'm going to start creating this value set over here. So I'm going to come take my blue and maybe a little of my alizarin. Right, but still blue. I'm just toning this phthalo because phthalo is such an enthusiastic blue. And I'm going to put a little of this in this corner. This deep blue. Up here in this corner. And you can see me, I'm scumbling down all about the place. Making a ruckus. I really like this around... John, what are these flowers called? Everybody in our community knows it but me. I don't know. It's purple. No, they I put the name in the title because Anne and a bunch of people knew
They knew what they were
I will
called.
wait for it to come up because I have no idea. Is it peony?
I don't either.
Is it
So you can see how blue this is that I'm scumbling over this dark value. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to come and I'm going to get a smidge, a smooch, a small amount of this white. See how little?
Uh-huh.
On my brush. I don't want it to be very, very... I forgot to put up my zinc white. I'm going to have you get some.
Okay.
The reason I have zinc white in today's color list is because there are times that we want to tone the paint, but we don't want to deaden it out the way titanium white will sometimes deaden out colors. You may not know that it does that, but it does. So this is still life and we're painting more realistically, right? So we're having to pay very close attention to our details. So see how I'm scumbling this little value set over here?
Oh, man.
Have fun with this stuff, by the way.
Okay, so...
Scumble that little value set. Very little, because I didn't have my zinc.
So I got a technical... So Trent was like Morning Glories, maybe? And then Brenda was like Alsto Morera.
That's them!
Okay, Alsto Morera.
I was really surprised this one won. I thought the Dutch one was going to go. I thought you guys were going to pick the full, the full McGee. Right? With all the drama and the open pomegranate. So I was super surprised that you guys didn't. So see how I've worked this smoky value. This is my alizarin in a toning my phthalo blue with a smidge of scotch, the smallest amount of titanium white. That's all we're doing. Look at how my poor brush. Don't actually kiss your paint because some of it's toxic. I love when people are like, I paint acrylics because it's non-toxic. I'm like, dude, read the label. A lot of the stuff you should not put in your mouth or eyes.
No, there's safety labels on there.
It is not body paint. Buy body paint for body paint, please.
So I'm going to grab you some zinc white, right?
Yes, thank you.
And while that's going on, could you explain what the difference is between zinc and titanium white?
Yes. So zinc white is a transparent, luminous. Oh, I'm still scumbling. I got too bright, so I'll have to knock some of that back.
Okay.
It's okay. It happens.
Where do you want which camera?
I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna knock it back. I was gonna explain zinc white and titanium white, but now I have to knock it back because the OCD person in me. If you paint with me for a while, knows I have to fix things when I see them. So you can see why I'm like, today is background day and maybe the glass. And now you're getting a sense like, oh, okay, there's nothing technique-wise that's hard here. There's just a lot of layers to this painting. Yep, that's all that's going on here. There's a lot of layers to this painting. When you're done, you're going to love this as much... Thank you. Actually, Golden does a good job of explaining why these two are different. Look at these two tubes. So see the opacity here? How it covers the white bars and this doesn't? On top of that, this deadens out or creams out everything. Here, I'll put a little out and we'll, just for fun. I mean, I did actually a whole quest on the differences of the whites, but this is always interesting to me. Because you don't really see it till you see it. So I'll take my blue, and I'm going to take a little of my blue over to my titanium white, and you can see how that does, right?
Where are you going to do this at?
Right here. I'm going to be right here.
Okay.
And then I'm going to get my clean water. Do I have any clean water? I don't have any clean water.
I'm sure there's a sink full of it. I'll be right back.
Okay. And now I'm going to take my phthalo blue that I have, right? I'm going to take it over to my zinc white. See how differently the zinc white affects the phthalo blue? It's transparent. It has almost a pearlescent luminosity or glow to it. You know, us artists, we're never going to have the joy of lead white because, well, basically, oh, I don't know if this camera is showing that to you. I may move it to the robot cam because this is so blown out, I don't know if you're seeing the differences between these two. All right, sorry. Thank you. I got to go here.
You need a different camera. You need
Yeah.
that camera.
Yeah. Do.
Okay.
There. So you can see that this is just a little more transparent. It's a little more luminous, and the color is less impacted by it.
We get that in focus. There we go.
So hopefully you guys can see the difference. This can be a real friend in fog, glass, water, atmospheric techniques. And that's why I include it in our palette. Again, don't try to mess with you guys for any reason unless it's super, 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 super necessary. We're doing pretty good, I think. We've got some background going here. I've got a little section here and through here I've got to do, and then some crackling. Some crackling, Mr. Cooney.
Okay.
Where's my scumbly brush?
I do not know.
And you could use, if you have the round stencils and you don't have one of these will work for this whole space. So that's why it's nice to have some tools, isn't it? I'm going to take a little of my burnt over to my umber. And I'm going to just come along here. It's going to be real fun when we start putting the leaves in. The leaves, the leaves, the leaves. Wipe off my brush and keep. So there's lots of ways to blend paint. There's wet into wet, which is one super effective way. And then there's this sort of dry brushing way, which again, sometimes is a technique that other artists boo-hoo. But I'm like, all techniques are valid techniques, man. Whatever gets you through the day. Through my alizarin and my phthalo and my burnt. Over the top, I'm just coming along here. And I'm just creating and toning and valuing that, right? Now, once you've got this where you feel like, oh wow, I've created a really rich, I just dipped in water because I've got a couple spots of white where the canvas is fought back. And so that's a way I fix that. So I dipped in water, took off the extra, but it's thinned my paint a bit and allowing me to sort of push this glaze into there. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So when I have a value set where I'm like, ooh, I really like that. That's really moody. It's reflective of my black and white photo because my color photo will super trick me. You can do it on your phone too. You don't have to print out like I do. I'm like so barbaric.
Now this is all really dark.
I would be so tricked by this if I didn't have this.
Yeah, because it's really dark.
It's darker than you think.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see how I needed my black and white to accomplish that goal.
Now, as you add the other things, they're going to be much lighter, so they'll brighten up this painting quite a bit.
Well, there's only a couple really light things. Everything's super dark, except a few highlights. It's really a tricky painting. That way, good still lifes to me, the ones I like, have dark, dramatic lighting. I won't even paint. Sometimes I'll paint a hi-hat one, but it's got to be a great hi-hat one. Yeah. Hi-hat, when I say that, what I mean is that the colors are mostly light and midtones, and there's very few dark tones. Like, if everything was white on white, that would be very hi-hat.
Ah.
Okay. So, now I'm going to add a little crazing. I don't want all the crazing. So I'm going to put out a little of my liquid black here. This is my fluid carbon black because my local place only has carbon black. It doesn't really matter the black it is. And by the way, if in your budget you can't get that, craft paint is the same consistency. So, you know what I mean? Little bottle of craft paint, man. Don't be stressed about it. So I'm going to tone this back with a little bit of brown.
What size brush did you grab there?
I'm about to show everybody. So This is a #1 detail round. It just is going to give me a fine little point, right? And I'm going to come to a couple places. Now I'm going to spend some time creating a little cracking pattern.
Is that what crazing is?
Yeah. Crazing is when the paint cracks. Or coulure. Crazing, coulure. It's like this. What happened is that oil painters used inexpensive thinners and inappropriate mediums, and then their paint cracked as it dried over time. The thing is, you don't even know what your oil painting is for years and years after it's done.
And that was actually something that became sought after. Was
Yeah, because that lets you know it was an authentic oil. Like, you collectors are crazy people.
It's like it's not a bug. That's a feature.
Right. Yeah,
It's like-
artists to the original. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
Right.
Because what are you going to do? Not sell your painting because it's cracked? You're like, no. That's how you know it's authentic. That's its patina.
Know. That's how you know it's an oil painting.
So I'm just trying to use the cracking pattern that I'm seeing here. And I'm not going to paint every crack. That would be very busy. But I might include as a detail in the painting some of the crazing that you see in the painting to give that feeling.
You just want to put the emotional cracks on the canvas?
I'm going to put some emotional cracks on the canvas.
I see.
Again, we could have gotten, I almost was like, should we get the paint medium that cracks your paint? And then I just thought, why?
That's a whole nother lesson.
It's a whole nother
It's
lesson.
Like
and
just crazing medium is a lesson.
But it's fun to do some cracks. That's some character.
Yeah,
That's an element of design that you can add to a painting to create interest, right?
Yeah.
And who doesn't need some interest in a painting? We could all have more interesting paintings. So I'm just breaking these little lines, and I'm using the pattern in my photograph to help me map out how I'm doing my cracks. Again, randomizing. This is a lot like Zen doodling. And if you just discovered that this was the most restful thing you'd ever done all week and you'd like to take the day to just craze your whole painting, have at it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, and people will be impressed at the work.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people asking, like, different variations on this. Like, well, couldn't you use crackle paint or couldn't you use other methods? So you're just showing, like,
how you paint it.
If you wanted to paint some little crackles in there,
if you wanted to have done this with a crackle painting kit, you could do your background with a crackle painting kit.
Totally.
I will tell you, though, if you are working as an artist and you're trying to sell your work, I recommend you paint the craze, especially as an acrylic artist, unless you're using cracking paste by Golden, because there's a perceived value.
Yeah, I mean, because if you don't get the cracking right, it doesn't really look like it's, I guess my comment to people who use additives and things is that it requires an extraordinarily high level of craftsmanship, of control and understanding of your materials to get those to pull off correctly.
Yeah.
As much as it does an artistic ability to be able to articulate the cracks by hand. So, when using those materials, you have to practice with them a lot to get the effects to work right.
I think so. So I'm just using a very light hand. And again, I'm not going to craze the whole area. I'm not going to crack the whole area. Just some of it. Take it in from light into dark. And it's a little effect.
Yeah, it's nice. Little you can definitely see it in the close-up camera. But I think that's where it adds to the subtlety in the background and,
Yeah. Work with purpose, but not in panic. And this is another reason I like to share this with you guys is sometimes in the real-time lessons, we're actually working at quite a furious pace. I'm working at the pace of performance art, like if I were painting live in a location, because I'm having to teach a lesson in a very specific time frame.
Yeah.
And so you guys aren't getting the benefit of learning a natural, organic pace of painting, which hopefully this is going to start sharing with you. How long should paintings take when they're very completed?
Now, that's an interesting question. Trent was asking,
Hi, Trent.
Would crackling be archival?
I believe that crackling paste by the top professional paint companies are. The craft crackle, I am not sure. I've never talked to those companies about their product line on that specific product. So if I were to use, like, say, Plaid's cracking paste, I'm sure they have one. I would just talk to their rep. I've talked to their product reps before on other products like Mod Podge, and they'll talk to you for like an hour. So they'll really tell you honestly. They'll be like, yes, totally does that, does it great, or they'll be like, no, please don't do that with it. Doesn't do that well at all.
So check with your manufacturer then.
Check with your manufacturer if you're like, hey, can I use this product in this way? There's this idea that paint companies are trying to trick us. I hear it out there every once in a while in the social media. They're like, oh, they're trying to like sell us the stuff we don't need, right? But very rarely are they doing that. I think a good example right now is Liquitex's cadmium-free paints. Right? They're not trying to trick you. They are responding to a request from many, many customers to create paints that are as bright and vibrant as cadmiums, but free of any cadmium metal.
Right.
They're not messing with you. They're trying to help you. You know, but sometimes it can seem like it's like, why is this new medium out? Probably because some artist bugged the paint company until they made it.
Yeah.
Really seriously, I think that's how most mediums are made.
and generally it begins with a lot of begging and pleading because it's hard to make new products.
I predict now there's going to be a medium that will safely create cells for paint pouring. Wait for it.
Right.
I am. That's why I got kind of quiet on it. I'm like, I know I probably shouldn't be adding WD-40 to my paint to create cells because that's not archival. But I bet you in the next year we're going to see a medium that does that and is archival.
Some super smart chemist is going to go, I know how to do this.
You want the paint to separate into cells? Fine.
Normally we want our paint to mix, but we can make it not
We
mix.
have a whole, like, it's very likely that paint organically and naturally does that, and they've worked for years trying to prevent the cellular dispersion of paint.
I know they do. I absolutely know that this is like, because you don't want your blue paint and your red paint to not mix together. And
So I'm sure they're sitting in their studio going,
oh, man.
so we got to take all this stuff that I spent 20 years of my life figuring out how to, okay, fine. So there'll be something you'll be able to add, and it will be great and fantastic, and all the professional artists will probably adopt that as quick as they can because they don't like to mess with their collectors. And we will all benefit from it. We will benefit from their asks.
But
we will benefit.
But I will say that making paint stuff is hard. It's chemistry. It's some strict science chemistry because it has a lot to do with there's like testing and quality assurance, and this stuff has to. I mean, like I have to, having been through some of these places, these guys super care about what they do.
Can you zoom in on, say, right here as much as you can zoom in, or maybe here?
Okay, you pick a place. I'm there.
Okay, go right here. I just want to demo something just in case anyone's struggling with this.
Okay.
So to get this effect, to hand paint it in, I'm on the tip of my brush. I'm going to wander down and I'm going to make a hard upward right. I'm going to let the brush catch along the canvas. Downward and over. See how I'm making hard and soft edges, and then I break them out. See how I'm getting this? I see this little dot here. I'm going to continue that on. Some of my lines might be a little thicker. Some of them might be a little thinner.
And you're doing your best just to be as random as possible.
I'm doing my best to be as random as possible. See how light my line is? I like that one there. Maybe it feels like it would crack further up here. Okay. I just wanted you guys to see how I was getting those cracks, because you can't really see them on the full cam, but how's that looking?
Really good. And see here, look. See, look at that. See, here's the zoom in on it.
Ah, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm doing, and that's giving me the craze. And so now I'm really, really, really going, right?
Yeah. Now, archival means that it won't break down or deteriorate in time under normal conditions. So, like, the paint won't fade, the clear coat won't turn cloudy. It stays what it's supposed to.
Yeah, some paint can fade out in 6 months. It's red when you paint it, and it's pink 6 months later, and that is upsetting.
And the reason why materials...
And that's the difference between pigments and often dyes.
Yeah.
Dyes are often much more vibrant, but much less light fast. Often, because obviously that's not always true. There are archival light fast dyes. Pigments, which are the particles, right, that they incorporate into a medium. They don't disperse. Their dispersion is different. Often are not as bright as dyes. Right? But they can be more light fast. And that's why those two products kind of initially came into the world, was how do I get this pigment, this particle, into a dispersion carrier versus how do I get this woad kind of dye into a carrier. But, you know, some of those last a while, like India ink, and some of them are like, boom, gone in a minute.
And yeah, when you add things to it, it changes the archivalness of it. So
It does. I've got to
additives.
get the leaves in,
Yeah.
babe.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just there. They're talking a lot about that in the chat.
Oh, no, you keep going.
So,
I just want to say that I'm mixing my blue and my green together. I'm going to add a little Alizarine Crimson over here to darken it. It's going to take it a little maybe more to the purple, and I'm going to get some of my burnt and just making this darker green. And I'm going to come put in some deep green here. I'm making a leaf shape. And I'm painting that in. I need it to be not much brighter than the background because everything is dry here and I don't want it to need another blending. Making another leaf shape. You can light fast test any of your paints by just painting them and then putting some tape across some of it and putting it outside for a week. And you'll know real fast. If your stuff fades out, you may not want to use it on GIFs or things that you're not just taking a picture from. So I'm just creating these random leaf shapes here. I'm going to get a little more green into my mix. Maybe even a smidge of yellow, but it's going to be very deep because I have the previous mixtures, right?
mm-hmm.
Let's make a soft vine. And then there's another soft vine that's coming down here. And then another leaf shape of the ivy. But this is, again, just a shade lighter, right, than what is around it. And one thing that I can do is I can then get a little yellow, just a smidge. Smidges being very important, and maybe even come along this edge of this leaf, just creating a little low light point to it. Back into my dark color, which is a little of my alizarin, my green, my blue, my burnt umber. I still want it to be green. See this right here? It's green.
Yeah.
And then some of that'll be with the yellow. Just so you guys can see that. But these are my deep back leaves, and these strokes can be looser and softer to create the implication of these leaf shapes being faded and in the distance, or not in focus. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So even though as oil painters we can't come through and soften all these edges by blending as easily, we can still do some stuff by using value. We are not unempowered. We are not unempowered, man. I'm going to get a little of my yellow on my brush into this mixture. Into that mixture. I need it to be, so I'm not lightening with white. Are you noticing I'm lightening a little bit with yellow? And I'm going to make a more focused little leaf. It's going to come around here. So it's, got pointed at the tip and wider at the base. Can we see that? Because this is quite dark.
It is dark, but I think we can see it here. Yeah, it's the green's definitely popping out. You can.
Okay. So this is just more defined, and it's got a little friend that's right here. Well, let's give it maybe another little. Get a little of my yellow and a little of my naphthol red. It's crazy. Right more into this yellow. Look at this right here. See how I used all that color that was on there to help me. Mixing that right into my deep color. And making some soft, not hard edge. See how I'm making these lines soft by being kind of dry brushy about them.
Yeah.
It's giving me a hand, right? Maybe a little bit right here. I'm going to get some more of my green and my blue and my burnt again. See, it's right there.
Yeah.
And make sure that there's some of this here in this corner a little bit. The blue's peeking out, right? And now we need a slightly more defined leaf here. Let's get our yellow into this.
Now, how far are we taking this one today?
The glass.
Just to the glass.
Not even the vines in front of the glass. Just the vines and the glass. We had to do the background and glass today to get the painting done in 5 stages.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
they were just curious how far we were going today.
This is just longer than most of our days.
Okay. So we'll be a little longer today, just going
A
to...
little longer today than the rest of the days this week. Lot to do though, right? I added a little white to this one. Are you catching that?
Yeah.
But not a lot. Right? Not a lot. Just a little. My paint is so glazing over.
It's a little warm in here today.
So I want this to be see how that's a very grayed out green? Let's put this leaf here. Right? Let's put it here. Now I feel like this area, you know, compared to all of this, now that I'm looking at it, is too bright and too static. And I've got these great leaves and they're starting to pull and be very dramatic. So I'm going to get my scumble brush just again for a second and get a little of my alizarin into my purple and a little of my blue in there. And let's make sure that this area looks like the depth it should. So see, step back, evaluate. This area is now pretty done.
Yeah.
We've done these faded back leaves, right? There is, however, this important weird bunch of leaves that's coming here. Super annoying. That was photoshopped in, which you should never do when you're doing a still life. Just because it's very hard to get the light. So I've got my brown into my green mixture over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add my yellow to it to brighten it. And in this case, I might even add a little of my white. And I'm going to follow along here on the edge of my brush. And I'm just going to follow this line.
Oh, it's in the shadow up there. You can just barely see it.
Right? And then come down. Gonna have to add some water to thin out the flow of my paint.
Ah, now Winter was asking an interesting question.
I would love to answer Winter's interesting question.
She was like, what do I do to get the zinc white consistency if I don't have zinc white?
You can try adding glazing medium to your zinc white.
To your titanium white?
To your titanium white, sorry.
Yeah. So you a glazing medium maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
But
that's how I would fake it if I didn't have it. If I had to make it and I had to fake it, that's what I would do.
But they really are. I mean, those are 2 specific tools.
They really are. And that's the thing. I may glaze these back a little bit. Just because I feel like this is pulled forward more than I would want. We'll see. Let me see the whole painting. Yeah, it's okay.
It's looking good.
All right, so now I'm going to make some leaves. Here's my green, back into that deep green. I've got some leaf here. Now I can put a leaf here, right? There was this weird leaf here. I should miss my palette. I'm going to put this at the top of my canvas going like this. And there is a couple little bumps in the stem. Here we go here. There was this nice little green leaf over here to the side. Adding a little yellow just to pop that out. Coming along, coming along. Little brown. Now you can get into the burnt sienna to get your green going. And I'm going to give myself one little kind of thought about little leaf here. And I'm going to think about like its shape that it has, which is the pointed. This has kind of got an ivy little vine to it, doesn't it? And that's about the shape of the leaves. So I just want to make sure that I'm kind of talking about that more specifically to those that are up close and more defined. But of course, in this piece there were several types of leaves, which is maybe not ideal. And I'm just trying to put those in right now. I'm doing the downward leaf here. Right? And I'm not going to worry about the forward one that's coming in front. This would not be the time to worry about that. I'm going to feather on the outside of this, but lightly. Maybe give this outer edge some definition. A little light here. And again, some light there. I'm going to give it another leaf. I just don't feel it. I feel like it's got to be like that. So once I have those in, I can start enjoying my wine glass, which is super fun. Super, super fun. I'm gummy. I'm going to put my paint back out.
Okay.
That happens to me because my conditions are very hot and dry. For my wine glass, I'm going to definitely want to have a little zinc. You can use a glaze and white or just dry brush the heck out of your white. I'm going to use my phthalo here. I'm definitely going to use my naphthol red and my alizarin. I don't see green reflected in there, so I think we're okay. There's a little, gosh darn it. Little reflections will matter. And I'm going to mist the heck out of my whole thing so it stays good. I'm going to add some yellow to lighten my red, to brighten my red where I'm going to need to. I'm going to, and it's easy for me to tell how you tell your zinc from your titanium, if you've never tried to do that, is this is a little warmer, a little more yellow, and is a little pearlescent.
Nice.
So that's how you can tell. And if you can't see it, it is perfectly acceptable to label it.
Yes.
I'm going to see if this is not plugged because I left it open. Don't leave your jars and things open. Because then they're all not happy. So that's glazing medium. But this isn't like the kind of glazing medium. Everybody says, so here's the deal. Paint companies are allowed to call their products anything they want. They might have the same name and not do the same thing. So this both extends paint, slows down drying time, and allows for glazing. So check whatever product you have to make sure it performs all those tasks. And I think we're also going to need, in this particular case, some black. All right, let's start thinking about this glass. So in the glass, right around here, we have some pretty dark color, don't we? So I'm going to take my blue over to my alizarin, and I'm going to put most of this part in that deep color. I'm just going to come across the top because my water be level. And while it's true, I'm going to come back with some highlights. I'm going to work this whole thing in at first with this dark value. In glasses, when we're painting glass, we're not painting. So what messes with people when they're painting glass is it's see-through and they're like, how do you paint what you can't see? Well, you paint what you can see. You paint the reflections. That's all you're painting. It's all the reflections and colors that you can see. And when you paint them together in a cacophony, what happens? I'm going to take this down past my flower petal just a little bit because I may have to, you know, who knows how my flower petal is going to layer out. I'm going to want this more red now. Here we go. So see, I'm creating this just deep burgundy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to brush this whole thing in this dark value first. Darkness. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
So, you know...
Are we doing okay?
We're doing really, really good.
I'm really amazed that everybody was up for this. We can do it again if we love it, but we don't ever have to do it again if we thought it was a lot of crazy.
Oh, no. It's going really great. Everybody's really enjoying this. And I was actually just going to throw out, we had a little community announcement there.
Did we?
Well, I mean, today's the first Monday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a marathon going on over in Canton, Ohio. So you can go to coctv.com and see it, or if you're in Canton, Ohio, on Channel 15, the Sherpa Marathon's going on there, and I believe it got a little next. The next one's going to be October 2nd. Look at that! I've got the little graphic there for you.
Oh,
so
very cool.
We'll have that up there a little later. But Canton, Ohio, they're running the Sherpa Marathon, which is 24 hours of Sherpa.
That's a lot of me.
Yeah, and I think that
I don't even do that much me. I'm just saying.
You and Luna are painting right now over there. On.
Oh my goodness! It's the one with Luna and I. How to paint with kids. That's actually a good thing to know.
Yeah.
There's some mom going, "Don't tell me how to mom."
I just wanted to say thank you to Trent and everybody over there in Canton, Ohio for supporting us, and we love you guys. We really appreciate it, and just a big shout out to Awesome Town.
All right. So here, I didn't get to narrate it, but what I did was I did a bump and a bump with just more of my burgundy, then the rest of my paint. I think is what I did there.
So how did you get that Merlot color? I was talking over you when you were mixing that.
Yes. So I used the phthalo blue and the Alizarine Crimson. And I'm just mixing it more to the crimson than to the blue. See?
Okay.
More to the crimson than to the blue. So if I want to say I had this color right here and I want it to be more crimson, I would just get more into the crimson. See, more to the crimson than to the blue.
Ah. And that's how you make blueberries turn or grapes turn into wine.
That's how you make paint turn into wine. But don't drink it.
Don't know. Just look at it.
What I thought was funny is a lot of people felt like that the glass had too much wine. They were like, "That's just too much wine, man."
That's more than that's Game of Thrones cup of wine.
This is, man, but you know what? When you're Cersei, you really need a drink.
Maybe.
That lady is wound tight. She's up to some crazy. She's living her truth, isn't she?
Mm-hmm. You know what? There's just a.
I'm going to take this all the way up to the top. This burgundy line is going to go all the way up to the top, and I'm going to drag it down a little bit.
Now, what phthalo was that? Phthalo blue?
Phthalo blue and Alizarine Crimson.
And Alizarine Crimson. Okay.
And I've just brushed in this whole area, the little area where I have bumps. I've taken it down past where I feel like my flower is going to be, because my flower is going to come up over this area. And now the upper part of the cup. So this is interesting. The first color I'm going to put in the cup, I forgot to put it out, is brown. Forgot to put it out. So the glass is going to reflect what it has around it. So you should see some of the color. The lemon's far enough away where it probably wouldn't hit the glass, and you notice that the lemon is hitting the knife. So that'll be super important about how we're going to make this feel like this is all more real. Mm-hmm. But right now for this, what it is we've got to look at what's reflected around it. And I'm super grateful that he's got some leaves going behind it and stuff so that we can say there's a green reflection. Mm-hmm. Right? Because we definitely need that. But the first color I'm going to put in all around, right, is brown. But I'm going to just do the burnt umber, and the painting should be so dark around it that this is just a much lighter brown. See that?
Yeah.
Because burnt umber is actually pretty transparent. I remember when I was first teaching, people were like, the browns are all see-through. And I'm like, wow, that's like something you wouldn't know unless you knew. Yeah, browns are totally see-through.
Lots of transparency to them.
Lots of transparency to them.
And that's because you like layers.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot about teaching art, but teaching art remotely was definitely a journey, a learning journey. What do people need to know when I'm not in the room?
Yeah.
So see how I've softened all these lines using the brown? It blends into the world around it, and it softened this space, and now my glass is vanished. I'm going to sippy. How are we all doing, guys?
Good. Very
Question
good.
time is I let this dry a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I want this to be dry enough that I can start adding colors and dry brushing over it, because it's going to come together really fast.
Yeah.
Like probably in the next 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know that people are really enjoying this. This is great. Everyone's giving really positive feedback. Cinnamon doesn't get to see the chat here, which is one of the unfortunate things.
Comments are really like life to me. I know it's a pain to make a comment after the video. It's just how I hear what you think.
Yeah. So she loves this, and I try to give her feedback through the show, but it's a balancing act between her teaching, me talking with you guys on the community and trying to keep the show not 4 hours long.
Is it 4?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Because I felt like this was going to be like an hour and a half too.
Yeah, I think we're doing just fine
Okay.
on time. But I mean, that's the challenge that
The
we
flowers
face.
will
Yeah.
be shorter.
Yeah.
The grapes will be probably much, much shorter.
The flowers that begin with an A that I cannot pronounce.
The lemon is going to be easy, but time intensive.
Lemony.
It's going to be lemony. It's so much easier than you think.
Will it be
I love when
sniffy?
all of you are like, I can't paint that lemon. I'm like, that is the thing you're going to... So many of you are going to come away like, you're right, the lemon was like the super easy part. It's just lemon. It's very few colors. Once I get that little swirly, peely thing down, I'm done. All right. I got to dry this, John.
Okay, you dry it.
You talk to them.
Okay. While she's doing that, I will say thank you guys. This is a big painting to do. It is. Thank you for hanging out. And we're going to be doing this over the next few days, which we think is pretty fun. We'll be getting here every day with you and doing some painting and putting the pieces together. And you can find out more about this on TheArtSherpa.com. We have links in the description below where you can find out about this. And there's all the materials, our traceables, reference pictures, stuff like that where you can find our website. Plus our chat. We're always hanging out a fair on that. And links to the other, so we'll have all of these curated up into one little kind of watch list. So it'll be real easy for you guys to find that. And trying to think. Oh, yeah. We've got, I have a graphic. Let me see if I can put this up for you guys. It is in, oh no, she's back. She's back. So we'll do it later. But, we have, I was going to just send over that they had sent us that we on Monday, October 2nd, get your paints and your brushes for every first Monday is Sherpathon in Canton, Ohio. And you can watch that. You can catch them on Roku or on live.coctv.com.
Just in case this ends up over in Canton too. Hi, Canton, Ohio. How are you today? All right. So I'm going to be painting this upper part of the glass, and I'm going to start working that nonsense out first, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things I'm going to be looking for the colors as they pull down. There's a little section over here. So I've got a little bluish gray. So I'm going to take a little of my blue over to my black, and I'm going to make a Payne's gray. Now you can buy this color, but I generally just make it, which is just a cooled black with a little bit of blue. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the outside edge of my glass and pull this dark line down to about the midway point.
Now, when you say brown, are you referring to your burnt umber?
Yes.
Okay.
I have burnt umber out, but not burnt sienna.
Or unburnt sienna?
Or no raw. It's raw.
Raw. Okay.
It's raw. It's a raw vegan sienna, man. It's so vegan. All right, so... Oh, I'm not telling that joke, but it makes me think of that other thing we saw in the news the other day. All right, so I have this nice dark value here.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a little bit of this right across the rim of my glass.
Just right across there.
If you painted the glass reflection in the beach, this is like that, just a little more amped up. It's a little more amped. That's all that's happening. And this is pretty dark. This is probably my darkest value, right? I'm going to add a little bit like this that's coming out kind of to the right. And then some of it goes down a little bit, and I'll come back with some gray. Now I'm going to add a scotch of, I'm going to say titanium to this. Yeah, I think this one will be titanium, and I'm going to just pull this down. Pulling this down a little bit. Just carefully. See, right to the water's edge? I'm building this reflection. Building this reflection right now. I'm going to come across the top a little bit with this lighter reflection. Very thin line. See me going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to wipe off my brush some. I'm not even going to want to rinse it out exactly. And I'm going to come get a little of my zinc. I'm going to see where that leaves me. All right, that's good. And I'm going to make a slightly to the right brush stroke that's very short. That's going to be some of the lip of this. And then I'm going to pull down a little more of this blue in my brush into my zinc. And I'm going to pull down right here. See it? More white. Pulling it down. The nice thing about the zinc is that it's letting everything sort of shine through. And I think I will take this with its blue. Let's take it on a dry brush stroke down. Down the glass. Tapering off. Let it be streaky. See that right there?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. A little bit of this coming up. I'm going to get a little more of my zinc on there. I will come back with titanium, but I'm wanting this lighter aspect than what I've got. And back and forth, you can see me wiggle, wiggle. See this here? This is a thing a lot of artists and I do, and what it does is it pushes the paint around using the edge of the bristles. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. See the wiggle? Wiggle, wiggle,
Yeah.
wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. These are planted firmly to the canvas, but they wiggle back and forth. That's what they do. Now I'm going to just be a crazy person and get some brown on my brush and come back here, pulling some of that down, back into my my glass. And now I'm going to add some of this, get some more on my brush, pretty much same thing, and I'm pulling this down. The second rim I'm going to want to do after I get my reflections in because it's an even lighter shadow in the whole overall shadow. And it's okay to come in here and maybe drag down a couple little light lines of reflection in the reflection. Feel like you can. Now I'm going to get a little of my brown and a little of my green together. And I might add a smidge of yellow to that. Here it is. There's the color. See the color?
Yeah.
And I'm going to come here over a bit and pull down some of that. See it pulled down? And then some of it is going to come across the top here. Oh, what are we doing? That's what we're doing. And I'm going to add a dot of it here. That's our green. Has to be in our glass. Has to be. And then a little more. I'm going to get this one a little more green. And pull it down. I've got that, right?
Yeah.
But there's other stuff happening afoot here. So this, I'm going to go more into the titanium because this is so bright white. This one right here is not a joke. And it starts down a little bit because it's beneath the second lip. Pulling it up at the water's edge, making sure I've got a pretty crisp line right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Pretty crisp. I might even take some of these reflections into my zinc, and you can see the difference between these two whites suddenly. And maybe down the glass. Just a hair, not too much. See? Now I'm going to get back into my little blue-black that I had going. Right, so it's not a bright blue, but it's more blue than black, see?
Yeah.
I'm going to get my zinc. Let's pull that down. Pulling that down. Maybe a little bit more of this over here. See how we're doing? And I'm going to do this little feather bit up here. I am just looking at the reflections that I'm seeing, so what I'm getting and what I'm going to continue to get is going to be about what I can see. Now I'm going to take another little shadow here, and come across. I'm going to get a little water on my brush because I need a little flow. I don't want it to be a dry brush. I'm going to come across here. And join it there. Can we see that now?
Wow.
I've got to come back with my zinc. Very lightly fade that out. Zinc. By crossing this reflection in front of some of that ridge, it's going to help define it as behind. See? If I don't do that, then it's in front. Now I'm going to take my titanium white on the edge of my brush. You may need to switch to a finer brush, and I'm going to make a little bit of a high reflection on the rim up here. And down here. See that?
Mm-hmm.
How's that looking on the big? All right.
Great.
It's looking hyper realistic, isn't it? Not hyper, but it is more realistic.
It's looking more realistic.
It is more realistic, and this is the process. This is the journey. This is what we're doing. So now here we've got a really fun highlight that we get to play with. I'm going to take my cad yellow and my naphthol. A lot of times when people are painting with reds and they want to lighten it, they want to lighten it with white. Don't lighten it with white. Lighten it with yellow. If you lighten it with white, you're only ever going to get pink. I'm coming down the glass on the edge of my brush. All right. I'm going to make sure that I'm fairly red with this. Dry brush right here, maybe, lightly over. A little bit here. Let's pull up. Look at that. I'm going to pull up some of this right here. Some just naphthol. I'm getting some just naphthol on my brush. Pull that up. And there's going to be a little bit of this here. And I'm just looking to see what I've got, right? Just stroking this up like I'm seeing on the glass. Let's take a little of this yellow and this red. I want it more red than orange, but still warmed. And I'm going to come this outside edge. Yep. I told you this glass is going real fast.
It does go fast.
Yeah. This goes fast.
Yeah, Gail's like, this is looking really, really realistic.
Yeah! So fun, man!
He's like, bing, bing, bing.
Now I'm going to switch over into my crimson. I'll just wipe off my brush and pick up my crimson, interestingly enough. I don't want to pull the pigment off. Right? And the yellow will lighten the crimson just a smidge. Right? And I'm going to come here and add some of this into my glass. Streaking up. Streaking up. Here's the one place. Now the crimson, interestingly enough, has some white. But I don't want to make it, okay, so like if I put the titanium white in, it would be pink. But I don't want it to be pink. Like as pink as it would be. It would be like this crazy pink. It wouldn't be like what I'm seeing in the glass. Which is why I determined that this titanium white needed zinc to come in and be a friend for this project. And I'm just lightly brushing this deeper reflection, right, into the glass. How is that? That's amazing to me. Right?
That's great.
Maybe we come along the outside edge of that with this little right here. So just, okay. So now I have some very important stuff to do here. I got to rinse out my brush because we're good. We're pretty good with our glass, right? It's seriously, when you're like too what? See, it's kind of like actually too hoot, isn't it? You're like, as long as I can dry brush and draw a cylinder, I can probably paint a pretty realistic wine glass. Oh, the secrets of art we're revealing today. So many people trying to make it seem so hard. So I'm going to take my, actually I'm going to get to a smaller brush because I want to have some real control over this next bit. I want my number 2. I'm going to get this little number 2. This is a number 2 bright in my ArtSherpa line. Any good, sharp, controllable bright will work. I'm picking this because it makes me happy. And it's super controllable and sharp.
And, well, I mean, if you had your own line of brushes, wouldn't you
Wouldn't
use
you
them?
paint with
Wouldn't
them?
you paint with them too? Be like,
Just a lot.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty, I mean, like, I know if I
Now,
had,
I'm going to add a little crimson to this reflection. I want it to be blue, but it needs to have a little of that in there, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the white. Now I'm going to come here, and a couple of spots here I'm going to hit some stuff. So I'm going to come underneath here and pull down a little bit. Pull down a little bit. One little one here, curved. And then some light ones here. We'll pull this down. Pull this down. I'm having so much fun here. Come get a little of your titanium white just on the corner of your brush. In the center of this blue, add a little dash of that. Oh, it's so insane.
yeah, it's like those little, your specular highlights are,
I know.
they're just like, whoa.
I'm going to get a little of my green and a little of my yellow and a little of my brown. And I'm also going to just obnoxiously put a little dot right there. Because, you know, attention to detail. But are we done yet? No, we're not. Because we're going to take a little of our naphthol. We're almost done. We're like seconds away from done. And then we're going to meet tomorrow. And I wonder how many people are going to come with their wine glasses ready to go. Share where you're at. Share your progress in group and on the webpage.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm taking this bright. And I'm adding these little dots of highlight. Because, you know, I can.
Because
Come on, I mean, it's just too much,
it's
right?
awesome. Just a little highlight. Just
Yeah, this is still life. I may not be a Dutch master, but sometimes I paint like one. It's so fun to be me.
This
I hope
is
it's
really
fun
great.
to be you. I hope you're having more fun being you today. I really hope you're in your... This is what I want for everyone who does this particular class with me, is that all week long you're doing the Hercules, Hercules, Hercules clap going. Just please, just punch with yourself.
Yeah.
We're going to meet up again tomorrow and paint this level on those flowers I can't say.
They begin with an A. I know that.
They begin with an A, and we're gonna paint the heck. We don't need to know how to say it if we know how to paint it.
They're pretty and they're purple. And we're
Dude,
gonna paint them.
this is going to be gifted for the... I predict this is going to be gifted for the holidays.
I hope so. I would love to get this as a gift.
Dude, wouldn't you just freak out?
I can't wait to see everybody's finals, because I love seeing, like, you guys know this. I love stalking people on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram, seeing all the pictures that you guys do. It's just awesome.
So hopefully everyone who was like, I can't do the lemon, I can't do the knife, after seeing this glass is kind of going, I might be able to do that lemon and knife. Like, I might be able to nail this painting. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. I'm going to see you tomorrow.